Hey guys, this is just going to be a very brief follow-up video because we were talking a whole lot about the differences in the hitbox sizes from before in past raid tiers, such as in Eden's Verse, where I'm going to choose a few examples I'm going to show on screen here, and then the current raid tier. I think that the most captivating example of all is going to be in comparing Shiva E8S to the current implementation of P6S, which you can obviously see that the hitbox size on P6S is just massively bigger, like incredibly so, like almost 4 times the size. Whereas with E8S, you can see that it's clearly smaller. The reason why this really stood out in my mind is because basically, I don't want to say the models are like one-to-one, but the models you can see a lot of very, very clear similarities, and so I'm like, oh, well, that really stands out. But this is really just to show you just how much more melee friendly this game used to be. I think that it takes an example like this to really let people know, oh, okay, there is actually that big of a difference, and that's kind of what we were getting at. This game has definitely become a lot more melee friendly, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I really don't. But what I do think, though, is that when people are just like, oh, okay, a ranged DPS doesn't need to separate from the boss so they can have constant uptime, at this point of the game, the melee DPS tax used to make a lot of sense. Like in Eden's Verse, I would have been the first one to agree. Yeah, this is obviously a very hard fight. E8S was very difficult. But given these changes that now I'm showing to you, I think that it is a lot harder of a sell, and it should be a lot harder of a sell to say, oh, ranged DPS have so much of an advantage over melee. And while that used to be very definitely true, I don't find myself that convinced that it should be this much of a disparity anymore between them. Currently, I'm thinking that the most fair thing that I've seen is gonna be like, let's say that we have a melee with no positionals hit, and obviously they're going to be hit different amount. What about if we have ranged physical DPS do as much damage as a melee that has absolutely no positionals hit? Like absolutely every positional is somehow botched. I think that that would be a fair world, but I do want to kind of explore that topic a bit further later, so I'm just going to close this up for now. And obviously, as you guys can see on the screen, there's a reason why we're saying that the ranged DPS tax is starting to look a little dated. It's really a very big game shift here at this point. Kind of at the point of the game where it's like the strategies are all around melee uptime. Every strategy that you hear is melee uptime strategy, this uptime strategy. It's kind of implied now. And it's kind of looking less and less relevant each raid tier now. Like last raid tier was very friendly, this current tier is extremely friendly. I don't see I don't really understand what warrants such a large disparity between melee and ranged anymore, given this, because as a melee, you disconnecting from the boss should be extremely rare. And even then, like, Ninja has options, like they have Hyoshio Ranryu, they're not losing DPS and they can disconnect. They have Raiton, they can gap close, they can use Tsuchikuchi to get in there. It's not even including like their passive trait to have like faster movement speed. I think that this, yeah, I'm gonna end this video because it's getting longer than I wanted. I think that this demonstration just puts visual what we're trying to convey. I don't think the range tax is or shouldn't be as relevant as it is anymore.